have currently a Senate runoff race, 2 Senate runoff races in Georgia, and the both debates have been insane. Like, the Republicans have ended up looking really, really bad, and I voted for some of these Republicans, so it's kind of embarrassing for me. But the latest one was with Warnock and Loeffler, and she kept calling him a radical liberal, which there's literally no such thing as a radical liberal. Like, you can't be a liberal is just like a centrist sort of person. That's even like what it means. We live in a liberal society, meaning we live in a very centrist sort of society. So it's very odd that she keeps calling him a radical liberal. She could have called him a radical communist. She could have called him a radical socialist, a radical Nazi, like whatever you want. But to call him a radical liberal.
My opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. My opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. My opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. My opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. 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 Radical liberal Raphael Warnock.
No, that's not a joke. No, they did not.
My opponent, radical.
They didn't play the same thing 10 times. She literally said, my opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. That's how she started every statement. And there were a bunch of other things that she said over and over as well. She kept saying, like, every time he'd call her out on something. So her and David Perdue both got called out in their debates for saying, or for denying that COVID was real, all while at the same time putting millions of dollars investing into vaccine companies and mask companies and stuff like that. So all while they're telling Georgians, COVID's not a big deal. It's just going to go away. We don't have to worry about it. There's nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. At the same time, their bank accounts saying otherwise. Like, you want to know what somebody believes, see where they put their money. That's what's most important. Where do they put their money? And this is why when we were talking about who's going to win, Trump or Biden, I kept saying, I will bet you that Biden wins. I will put my money where my mouth is. I will bet you that Biden wins, because people who aren't actually willing to bet, they're just guessing, like, and that's fine. You can guess, but I didn't feel as though I was just guessing. And so for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, they both invested money into like COVID response things while they were pretending that COVID wasn't a big deal and that it didn't actually matter. So yes, and she kept calling him all sorts of other things. Like he would call her out on where she invested her money, and she'd say something like, "Oh, I'm not gonna take any. I'm not gonna take crap from somebody who is a communist and said that you can't serve the military and God at the same time, and that she really embarrassed herself." Tim Cheetah on YouTube said, "But what does she really think?" For real. Melanie Henry on YouTube, appreciate you joining us. So I got another guest here.